I'm with Dr. Jose Antonio.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, what's your position at VPX?
I am the Sports Science Director here at VPX Sports.
Well, we are here on VPXSports.com. Log on to check out this and other episodes of VPX TV. Today we're here to talk about Meltdown. Doctor, how many studies have been done on Meltdown?
Meltdown, we actually have 5 published studies, 5 full manuscripts on Meltdown, 4 on the capsule, 1 on the RTD. And in fact, if you look at the entire category, there are probably more studies on Meltdown than any other fat burner or thermogenic in the entire category. In fact, I would say within the VPX portfolio, there are more studies on this on the product portfolio than any other brand that exists right now. So some really impressive stuff.
Yeah, what's really exciting too is these studies were done on real human subjects. Hold that up for people, not rats, real human subjects on a finished product, not a key ingredient in the product, but the actual product itself.
And you know what, that's really important, because if you look at how, you open up any muscle mag, you look at the ads, what does it say? The key ingredient has been shown to do X, Y, and Z. Well, why not? Let's see what the product does. And that's what we've done here.
Exactly. So we're here to tell you the truth, dispel a lot of myths, and talk about fat loss versus weight loss, talk about the studies and how this can affect you.
You know what's really exciting? If you remember the very first Meltdown study that was done by one of my good friends, Dr. Jay Hoffman, I saw the data, and frankly, I was a little surprised. And I went to you, I said, well, I got the data, but I'm not sure I believe it. It was a little...
Yeah, we were really, really surprised when we saw the thermogenic effect. It was like 29.4%.
Exactly.
We thought it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, because I went back to the original caffeine ephedra data, and we all loved caffeine and ephedra. I love it.
I love it still, too.
And I thought, what do you know? This stuff has an effect that's twice as high as that. And I thought, this can't be right. And I talked to the principal investigator, and he says, no, that's the data. He goes, that's what we got. And it kind of surprised him as well. So from that, subsequently, we had 4 more studies really verifying that original data, showing the 29 to 30% thermogenesis and a 56% increase in fat oxidation. And I'm sure you know what that is.
Right, and you actually made them review the data and redo the numbers and everything. Yes. We were really surprised. The kind of gold standard of fat burning and thermogenesis was caffeine and ephedra, and that yielded about a 15% increase in thermogenesis. And now we have this product Meltdown, and I knew it was going to be great, but 29.4%, almost twice that of ephedra and caffeine.
I mean, it really is impressive.
It's huge.
And in fact, what we did, there were some follow-up studies we did looking at the effects of it during exercise, how it elevated metabolic rate. But we also did a real-world test on a really beautiful fitness and figure team, performance-ready team. Carla Sanchez is the head coach for the team. And all these girls are in great shape. So it's tough to lose body fat if you're already in great shape. And what's the other thing? When people diet, what's the worst thing that can happen?
They lose muscle.
Right.
And that's the big thing when you're competing. You cannot lose muscle.
And people love caffeine and ephedra precisely because it spared lean muscle.
Right.
You could actually lose body fat, spare lean muscle. So what do you know? When Carla did the challenge, the Meltdown challenge, on average, the girls all lost fat, but they didn't lose any muscle.
Before we get into the girls, Jose.
Okay, well, I love it.
Let's talk about the studies first, and then we'll get into the real-world results with Carla Sanchez's performance-ready team. But let's talk about a shift in 56% fat utilization versus the body's preferred source of energy, which is usually glucose.
Right. This is actually exciting. The 56% increase in fat oxidation. Oxidation is just sort of a fancy word for, let's say, fat burning. And really what it means is your body has 2 main fuel sources, sugar or carbohydrate, and fat, or we'll just call it fatty acids. That's what scientists call it. And typically, you know, if you're just sitting there, you're going to burn X amount of carbs and fat. And what Meltdown allows your body to do is it shifts your burning sugar or carbs more towards fat, so that when you exercise, you're burning more fat. Also, when you're just sitting there, you're burning more fat. And that alone is going to help you lose body fat in the long run. And that's really quite astounding.
Yes, exciting data. So one of the things I talked to Jose about is giving women the truth. They're fooled by all this advertising and losing weight and taking a product that makes you get slim fast with a bunch of sugar in. And yeah, you do lose weight and you look good on the scale, but you're losing valuable muscle tissue. Women want to be toned, and all toned is the absence of body fat and the presence of muscle. But if you lose muscle too, you're going to look the same in the mirror. You're going to be saggy, It's just not the look you want. And so what we're here to teach women the importance of maintaining muscle while losing body fat in their weight loss goals.
Right, and in fact, that's what we call the skinny fat, the person who loses weight, but actually they're losing muscle and water and bone. You want to lose just body fat.
Right.
The concept, you know, we want to shift the concept. Forget the whole body weight loss issue. We gotta convince women and men that it's a fat loss that you want to strive for, not weight loss. I mean, it's ridiculous to think about this body weight loss when in fact a lot of it could be muscle.
Right, and it's real important, and that's what we're going to talk about later with Carla Sanchez. But getting into the study, so it showed a 29% increase in thermogenesis, 56% shift in fat utilization, and there was another important thing that the study showed. What was that?
Well, there's been a lot of important things this study showed. Which study are we talking about?
I'm trying to put you on the spot here.
Well, actually, you know, besides that, the duration of the thermic effect was enormous. We're talking 6+ hours.
Right. The first study we did showed a 3-hour increase in thermogenesis, but it was going like this on the graph, and we won't get too technical about that, but I told Dr. Jose as a scientist, I'm a scientist, Dr. Jose is a scientist, look, wow, it's 3 hours and it's still climbing like crazy. Let's take the human subjects in a follow-up study and do it for 6+ hours.
And in fact, if you look at the data, it climbs up, and even at 6 hours, we're talking, it's still significantly elevated.
12.4%.
Put it this way, if you're going to take this at dinner time, plan on not sleeping, because your metabolic rate will be elevated.
Right. One of the things I wanted you to talk about, and I hate to put you on the spot like this, but we talked about it before, is compare Meltdown to, let's say, cardio. I'll start off by saying, let's say you go on the treadmill for a half hour. You get that fat burning effect for that half hour, and about another half hour to an hour after you get off the treadmill. And that's called acute fat burning. It's done, it's finished, it's over in an hour and a half. Now imagine Meltdown, 6+ hours of fat burning.
Right, what you're actually referring to is when people exercise, there's that post-exercise increase in metabolic rate. And typically it doesn't last that long, maybe an hour, maybe a little longer if you exercise really hard. Compared to Meltdown, you're talking about a 6+ hour increase in metabolic rate, which is amazing actually.
Yes. And the other thing I wanted to touch on now that I remembered, I put you on the spot because I didn't remember, is we talked about the 56% fat loss. We talked about the length of thermogenesis. But let's talk about, it's kind of complicated, but we'll simplify it for you, is free glycerol and free fatty acids in the blood. And Jose will explain what a triglyceride is and what that means as far as fat burning. Talk about the first study that just showed free glycerol and then what we did.
Well, to make it easier, what we store in terms of fat are triglycerides. Now, what you want to do is liberate it or free those triglycerides. So what your body has to do is chop it up into pieces so that you have free fatty acids and glycerol in your blood. And what those are indicators that you're actually breaking down fat. And by putting free fatty acids in your blood, your body's more apt to want to burn that as fat. And glycerol and free fatty acids, these are really markers to show fat oxidation or fat burning.
Right, so a triglyceride is 3 fatty acids
attached to a glycerol molecule.
Exactly. So in one of the first studies, it showed free glycerol in the blood, which scientists know is what?
Free glycerol in the blood?
Yeah.
Is it? Well, it's a marker of fat breakdown.
Right, but the consumer wouldn't understand that. So I said, Dr. Jose, let's in the subsequent study, let's show free fatty acids being liberated in the blood. Now, what's really cool is you have free glycerol, free fatty acids showing the triglyceride or the fat molecules broken up. The interesting thing here, and I think this is just huge, I don't think anything has shown this, is that now you have a 29% increase in thermogenesis, which means burning fat in the presence of heat. You have the
elevated
fat
metabolic rate, yes.
You have the fat freed up in the blood, the glycerol freed up, the triglyceride broken apart, so you actually truly showed fat burning. This is really, Meltdown, hold your bottle up, is really the only truly proven fat burner when you're talking about burning fat or oxidizing fat.
Well, when you have 5 studies to demonstrate that the effects, then the proof is incontrovertible. That's an essay.
Holla.
But you're right. The 29 to 30% thermogenesis, the 56% increase in fat oxidation, the 6+ hours in terms of the duration of thermogenesis, the loss of fat mass, maintenance of lean body mass. These are all things I think people should, be aware of when they try Meltdown, because it really does have a lot of great data to support its effects.
Right. We tell you not to use Meltdown also, and to read the label very carefully. If you have any pre-existing conditions, you're using any type of drugs, whether recreational or prescribed. And if you're more than 15 pounds overweight, we suggest you try to take off that weight. And always see a doctor before you go on a fat burner, just to make sure that there's no pre-existing conditions. Having said that, let's talk about Carla and her girls now, and the importance too of these girls. Let's keep in mind, diet and exercise was an important part of the protocol for Carla Sanchez and the girls. We never want you to take a product and try to lose weight without exercising and without cleaning up your diet.
Yeah, the great thing about Carla's girls is they were already well trained, so for them to lose body fat is tough. And the fact that they could lose body fat and maintain lean body mass really shows how effective the product is. But again, remember, you got to combine this with a proper exercise regimen. You got to watch your diet, eat clean, and also a little bit of advice I give to people, because this is strong, that you may want to titrate the dose at least initially to see what works for you. Some people can take the 3 capsules initially. Others have to work from 1 capsule to 2 to 3. And your advice in terms of if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, you're hypertensive, have high blood pressure, to perhaps avoid it, that's actually very good advice.
Right, and so that's what the directions say. The directions says start with 1 cap, see how you feel, then try 2, and then maybe try 3. But if you're sensitive to stimulants, break them up during the day. You can also slow down the effect by taking it with food. It'll slow the release into the bloodstream.
Absolutely. And I think, again, we have scientific data to show that the product works. This isn't one of these, ingredients have been shown to do X, Y, and Z. Product-specific data, 5 studies, the proof.
Right. You can log on to VPXSports.com to read all the studies and look for future VPX TV episodes. I'll begin with Dr. Jose Antonio. We'll have a lot of guests in here, but what we're trying to do is teach you to take a product that's scientifically backed so that you actually know that it's working when you spend your hard-earned supplement dollars.
Exactly.
In closing, let's just review Carla's results. There was 20 women. They all lost body fat. Not one lost an ounce of muscle. Go talk a little bit about that.
Yes, on average what happened is they lost roughly 10 pounds of weight, of which the 10 pounds was fat.
100% fat. No muscle loss.
Which is very interesting.
Yes.
She must be a magician.
Or the Meltdown's doing what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Hey, we thank you for joining us here at VPX TV. If you have any questions, you can email Dr. Jose Antonio. I don't know what his email is, but
you can find it. josca@vpxsports.com.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And this is, again, an episode of VPX TV. Log on to vpxsports.com for more information. All the studies are online, and we thank you for tuning in.